grief.
She was just devastated by the loss.
Her daughter was murdered.
Your child's not supposed to die before you.
Had her pain finally proven too much?
She was self-medicating,
which we believe led to some type of substance abuse.
And her secret life would lead to dangerous encounters.
She turned into a different person.
Once she gets the crack and everything, she, like a Dr. Jekyll Miss Hyde, she gets in that stage where she like women, you know.
She like what now?
She like women.
She wanted to have some type of romantic or sexual encounter with her. This possibly could have been a crime that involved a sexual assault.
Now police are left wondering how one woman's hidden desire could have led to such an awful end.
The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back of the head.
When you're shot in the back of the head, that's pretty much an execution every time. And so the question becomes, could those two things be related?
August 27th, 2013. It's a sweltering Tuesday afternoon in Jackson, Mississippi, a deep South city of nearly 175,000.
Jackson is central Mississippi. Of course, we are the capital of the state.
Jackson is a very rich place with a lot of culture, a lot of different people of all different races and things like that.
But you still had a regular amount of crime in some areas. And you do have the harder areas where you are going to have a lot more crime.
All those troubles seem miles away that afternoon as a deacon from a prominent Jackson church walks the church's property on the city's far western fringe.
This particular property was kind of out a little bit.
It's essentially a church-owned park with a riding and walking trail around a small lake.
So the deacon, he maintains the property, and he also collects fishing fees from individuals that they're allowed to fish.
But that afternoon, the deacon notices something unusual.
There were quite a few buzzards circling over the area on the property.
He thought somebody left some trash.
Although, as he gets closer, the deacon realizes that it isn't trash the birds are circling. It's a dead body.
He was pretty shocked when he saw something that looked like a body covered in plastic and immediately called 911.
This Deacon Roberts, yes. I need the police immediately.
Police then contacted the Robbery Homicide Division of Jackson Police Department to respond to the address.
When detectives arrive, they find what appears to be the body of an African-American woman.
Police arrive and they do ascertain that she's been shot in the head.
The body has no ID and is decomposed beyond recognition.
We figured that the body had been there at least 5 days.
Despite the fact there is no identification on the scene, detectives believe they know the dead woman's name. Based on a recent missing persons report, the victim matches the description of Jackson resident Felicia Spann. 41-year-old Felicia Spann's life had always centered on her two daughters, Felicia and Quintina Miller.
Felicia was a single mom raising two daughters basically on her own.
It was a struggle, but Felicia never let it get her down.
She seemed to be a fun person, an outgoing person.
And by 2010, the single mom was looking forward to the next stage in her life. With her daughters almost grown, Felicia could finally start thinking about herself. But that spring, Felicia's life took a horrific turn.
Felicia Spann's daughter, Felicia Miller, was killed.
Her daughter was in the West Jackson area, which is near a major corridor of the I-20 highway.
She is shot and left for dead.
She was only 16 years old.
Sorry for your loss, Miss Spann. We're going to find out who did this.
No. No.
What is it, Mama?
My baby.
Detectives identified her daughter's boyfriend, 18-year-old Jawan Moore, as a suspect.
The couple had gotten into an argument earlier that evening.
We believe that there may have been more than one individual possibly involved, but ultimately, Juwan Moore was arrested and he was charged with her death.
But despite having a suspect in custody, the investigation stalled.
We didn't get a lot of information. Some individuals didn't want to speak to police, or some of these individuals gave conflicting information or evidence.
There were just no witnesses or forensic evidence that tied him to the shot that killed his girlfriend.
As a result, the DA dropped all charges against Juwan, and no one else was ever charged. Heartbroken by her daughter's death, Felicia was convinced that justice had failed.
There was no closure to that case. The pain that she was going through was too much.
Your child's not supposed to die before you.
Devastated by the tragedy, Felicia struggled to keep going.
She turns to various ways to comfort herself and to take the pain away.
Unfortunately for Felicia, she turned to drugs to mask all the pain she was going through.
She was looking for any comfort, any solace that she could find.
Felicia's mother and daughter, Quintina, stood by her, hoping she could eventually overcome the trauma of her other daughter's tragic death.
When someone is going through addiction, it is a coping mechanism. There is some pain there that they're trying to solve.
Her family had obviously hoped that as time went on, she'd find a way to handle her grief without the use of drugs.
Felicia also tried finding comfort in romantic relationships, but her grief kept her from making a meaningful connection. And even 3 years after her daughter's murder, Felicia still struggled.
Drug use impacts people a lot.
She couldn't cope with the pain.
Felicia had fallen so deep into despair that when she didn't respond to phone calls on Saturday, August 24th, 2013, her family feared the worst.
When you're dealing with someone with a substance abuse problem, you're always worried about the possibility of an overdose or an accident.
So that afternoon, Felicia's daughter, Quintina, turned to the police.
I'd like to file a missing person report, please. It's my mom, Felicia Spann.
Now, just 3 days later, on August 27th, homicide detectives suspect the woman found by the church deacon is Felicia Spann.
The body had been there for days, so it was badly decomposed.
At the time we discovered the remains, we couldn't confirm whether it was her or not. However, we did have a strong belief.
The woman appears to be the victim of a single gunshot wound to the head. But is this woman Felicia Spann? And if so, how is it possible she suffered the same fate as her daughter?
You always want to go a little bit further, dig deeper to see, is there really a connection?
3 years after her daughter's murder, 41-year-old Felicia Spann was still battling with her loss.
Felicia Spann was definitely a woman who had endured tragedy. She was a mother that endured pain.
But now, detectives in Jackson, Mississippi suspect Felicia may have suffered the same fate as her daughter.
A church deacon found the decomposing remains of an African-American woman dumped on their property near the lake.
There had been an official missing person report filed for Felicia Spann about 3 days before the discovery of these remains.
Is it Felicia? Detectives can't say for sure.
The body was in advanced stages of decomposition at the time that she was discovered.
So they try to, find out how this body ended up in this church property, why it would have been there.
But for the moment, detectives can't rule out the possibility that the victim had been killed somewhere else. Hoping to determine if the victim was dumped or killed at the scene, CSI searched the surrounding area.
The first thing we started looking at is, were there any tire tracks leading up to the body? Because we have to decide if the body was actually dumped. Take a look and take photos to see were there any different tire markings, dragging marks, so on and so forth.
This crime scene was large. We collected every piece of evidence that we believed to be connected to this incident.
And at that point, of course, the coroner comes and is packaging up the body.
We believe that the remains were that of Felicia Spann. Of course, we had to await the final ruling from the coroner and the medical examiner.
While the coroner's team works, detectives canvass the area.
Police talk to the deacon at the church and try to find out, does anybody know who this is? Where did she come from?
The deacon said that it had been a week since he had last checked on the property.
Interviewing adjacent property owners also yields little information.
None of the neighbors had recalled seeing anything unusual during this time.
Detectives appear at an impasse. But the next morning, the coroner's report confirms their victim's identity.
The fingerprints were analyzed, and they did come back to Felicia Spann.
In addition to establishing Felicia's identity, the autopsy confirms another of the detective's suspicions.
The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the back of the head.
Jackson homicide detectives now have conclusive evidence of a murder.
When you're shot in the back of the head, that's pretty much an execution every time.
But for now, the other evidence collected at the scene offers little in the way of leads. And the autopsy did not reveal any recent sexual activity, ruling out a possible sexual assault.
There were bed sheets and linen found around the body. The condom was found as well, but we ruled this out during the course of the investigation. We didn't believe that they had any bearing on the murder.
Detectives' next step is contacting Felicia's family.
Police had the duty of letting Felicia's family know that she had been murdered.
I've conducted several hundreds of death notifications during my career, and I can tell you it's not an easy thing for the individual that's delivering the news that these remains had positively been identified as Felicia Spann, and we were conducting a murder investigation.
While the news of Felicia's death is devastating, they had been preparing for this moment for some time.
The family knew all about Felicia's descent into drug abuse.
Her daughter is the one that had reported her missing prior to the discovery of the remains.
But the news that Felicia had been murdered and not overdosed is an unexpected shock.
This was double devastation because Felicia had also lost her daughter in a similar fashion.
In fact, Felicia's mother and daughter are both too distraught to answer more than a few questions.
The mother couldn't give us really too much information other than the last time that they saw her was Friday.
They did know that Felicia Spann had gone out with some friends on that Friday night.
Detectives arranged to speak with Felicia's daughter more in depth the next day, once she's had time to recover from her shock.
In the meantime, the details of Felicia's murder are strikingly similar to her daughter's, leaving detectives to wonder if the two crimes were connected.
Being a homicide detective, you always kind of get that feeling.
Her daughter's murder is still an open case, and the killer is out there somewhere.
Could the same person who killed Felicia's daughter come after Felicia as well?
Detectives need to find out who was the last person to see Felicia alive. But when detectives get a lead on who that is, the investigation will reveal a different side of Felicia Spann.
There are parts of herself that she had kept secret from our family.
Police in Jackson, Mississippi are investigating the murder of 41-year-old Felicia Spann, found dead in a church-owned recreation area 3 years after the still unsolved murder of her teenage daughter.
Her mother then, a few years later, is shot in the head as well. And so the question becomes, could those two things be related?
You always want to go a little bit further to see or to dig deeper to see, is there really a connection?
After talking to Felicia's family, detectives pull the files on her daughter's murder.
Her daughter was killed in the West Jackson area.
The daughter's boyfriend, Jawan Moore, who was the original suspect in that case, still lives in the area.
Because of her daughter's murder, we tried to see if we could connect the two.
But after reviewing the files, it appears to be a dead end.
There was just no evidence or anything to make us believe that the two of these incidents had been connected. They were just both unfortunate tragedies.
However, while the murders don't appear directly connected, that doesn't necessarily mean they're unrelated.
They were connected in that Felicia Spann, dealing with that grief and trauma of losing her daughter, may have started turning to other things and other people that maybe she wouldn't have associated with beforehand.
Hoping one of those new associates might be the key to solving the case, detectives try to identify the last people who'd been in contact with Felicia.
As usual in a homicide investigation, police did search her phone and her phone records.
Felicia made her last outgoing call late on Friday night.
Since Felicia disappeared the following Saturday, detectives figure she must have been killed sometime late Friday or early Saturday morning.
But that final call was only one of multiple calls Felicia had made that evening.
Those phone numbers were very important because these are known individuals that Felicia Spann spoke with at the time and prior to her being reported missing.
She called the phone numbers back to back to back to back, which led us to believe that she was trying to get somewhere. She was looking for a ride.
She may have stayed with friends, and these individuals may have had knowledge of her last known whereabouts. Therefore, we consider them to be key people during the course of the investigation.
However, there's one number on the list that won't be easy for detectives to identify.
One of those was a burner phone. It was a number that went to a prepaid cell phone.
Could that number be connected to the killer? When detectives track the number down, their suspicions deepen.
By the time police were able to call it, it had been disconnected.
The burner phone appears to be a possible lead, but the priority for detectives is to speak with Felicia's daughter, Quintina, to see if she can shed light on the people Felicia had been in contact with.
We end up talking to her daughter to actually get an approximate time she left the house and who did she talk to in reference to where did she go.
Felicia's daughter says she'd last spoken to her mother early Friday evening.
Did she say anything was wrong? Any problems?
No, it was a Friday night. Everything was good.
Her mom had been hanging out with some friends. The daughter was able to identify some of the telephone numbers of the individuals that she believed to have been hanging out with as well.
Some of those people she would have been better off not knowing.
What do you mean?
They just weren't good for her.
Felicia's daughter explained that her mother had fallen in with a rough crowd in the years after her sister's murder.
The death of her daughter took a toll on her over the years and ultimately led to some type of substance abuse.
That's why I was so worried when I couldn't get in contact with her. I thought something might have happened to her.
Her daughter did give us a wealth of information for us to follow up on, to go back and trace some of the whereabouts, locations, and individuals that Felicia Spann had been affiliated with prior to her being reported missing.
Felicia's daughter mentions one person in particular, a man named Jeremy Floyd. Quintina knew Jeremy was friends with her mother, and he even had Quintina's number, but she didn't know if they were intimate or if Felicia had a boyfriend at all.
There are parts of herself that she had kept secret from our family.
Floyd is one of the people that detectives have already identified from Felicia's phone records.
The daughter advised that she had been in contact with Jeremy Floyd.
In fact, she says that Jeremy called several times that Saturday, asking about her mom.
According to Felicia's daughter, Floyd had even come by her apartment on Sunday.
I was wondering if you heard from Felicia.
Jeremy
No, I
Floyd
haven't talked to her today.
did seem to portray a suspicious type of behavior. He had been asking several questions to Felicia Spann's daughter, trying to get information from her.
It's almost as if he was trying to figure out if Felicia had been reported missing and if the police were looking for her.
All Felicia's daughter knows for sure is that Floyd called her again on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, he called me right after it was on TV. He asked me if it was my mom.
Was Jeremy genuinely concerned about Felicia, or was he worried because he already knew she was dead?
Detectives investigating the murder of 41-year-old Felicia Spann have just received what appears to be a promising lead. about a man named Jeremy Floyd.
Jeremy Floyd called Felicia's daughter after hearing a news report about an unidentified body being found.
Detectives were wondering, why would he immediately think it's Felicia? Unless he already knew she was dead.
We believed at the time that he had a wealth of information or knowledge as it relates to her death.
However, finding Jeremy Floyd proves difficult.
Detectives left him several messages and went to the address they found for him, but they were unable to reach him.
Still hoping to hear back from Floyd, detectives move on to the other names that Felicia's daughter gave them.
Felicia had been in close contact with several people that day, and you have to try and figure out who would have seen her last.
One of the first people they speak to is a man named Aaron Blake. Aaron tells detectives that he last saw Felicia on Friday night.
There's a bunch of people over here, just talking and having a few drinks, but Felicia, she didn't stay very late.
They were all having a good time, hanging out, and Felicia wanted to have maybe a little bit more fun. They don't know where she was going, but they know she wanted to leave.
She wanted to leave about 7 o'clock that evening. She did try to get one of them to take her somewhere. She also made several phone calls.
She was on her phone trying to get somebody to come pick her up.
Blake's story fits with what detectives already knew from Felicia's phone records.
Do you remember her talking to somebody named Jeremy Floyd?
No, I don't remember him.
There's only one name that Blake remembers, one detectives haven't heard before.
I know she called a dude named Donovan.
Could Donovan be the person with the suspicious burner phone?
Aaron doesn't know. All he can tell detectives for sure is that Felicia never found the ride she was looking for.
When she couldn't get anybody to pick her up, she, set out on foot.
Blake says he has no idea where Felicia was heading. To detectives, it's clear there are multiple men in Felicia's life, but so far, none of them seems to be romantically connected to her. But finally, they track down one of the men, who they hope can answer the question of what happened to Felicia Spann.
The following morning, detectives finally heard back from Jeremy Floyd, who agreed to come in for questioning.
Once Floyd sits down with detectives, he claims that he has nothing to hide.
He admitted that he called Felicia's daughter and had gone by her house, but it was only because he was worried about Felicia.
So why are you so worried about Felicia?
Because I tried calling her. I didn't hear back from her.
Jeremy says that they typically spoke almost every day, and that Felicia depended on him for rides, but that they were friends and nothing more.
He would pick her up and they would go places and different drug houses and things like that.
Is that where you went Friday night?
We didn't go anywhere. We just drove around.
Jeremy claims that while they were driving around, Felicia was on the phone trying to meet up with someone else.
Do you know his name?
No. She just said to drop her off and that she'd have somebody pick her up later.
Where did you drop her off?
He was able to direct them to a home on Tennessee Street.
Tennessee Street is a high crime area in Jackson, a real hot spot for drug and gang activity.
Is Jeremy telling detectives the whole story? With no evidence tying him to Felicia's murder, they decide to follow the lead he's given them. When detectives visit the address on Tennessee Street, Jeremy's story appears to check out.
It did turn out that this was a drug house.
If this house is where Jeremy dropped off Felicia, then this explains why he would be worried about her and might suspect the body on the news was Felicia.
But tracking Felicia to a drug house may make finding her killer that much harder.
When you're dealing with people who are involved with drugs, they don't want to tell us all the information that they have, bits and pieces of it, but never all of it.
Unfortunately, the investigation stalls at the house on Tennessee Street.
The case dragged on for months and months. It was starting to get stale. We're thinking, is anyone going to be arrested in the murder of Felicia?
It's an agonizing thought for Felicia's family.
For family, if it's not leading to any type of justice, that's hard because you want to know what happened to her.
I can't imagine how much harder this is for Felicia's family because they've been through this before, about 3 years earlier with Felicia's daughter.
To have two murders in one close-knit family and neither of them be solved, the family was just dealing with so much.
By late November 2013, Felicia Span's murder is looking more and more like it will remain unsolved.
The media talked about a cold case because police were playing it close to the vest while they didn't have a suspect.
But will a single phone call turn this cold case red hot?
A defense attorney called and said that he had a client who was willing to share what happened to Felicia.
It just happened so fast, man. All I know, I seen a cock thing and the gun went off.
He said he knows who murdered her.
3 months after a church deacon discovered Felicia Span murdered on the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi, detectives investigating the murder fear the case is going cold.
This incident happened in August. We didn't get a break on the investigation until November.
The break comes on November 26th.
A defense attorney comes forward and says, I've got a client who says that he witnessed a murder. If you guys will give him immunity, we would be glad for him to tell you what he saw.
The offer puts detectives in a bind.
People are reluctant to talk to police. So we have to get information any way we can.
But they were also dealing with a murder. And since he was asking for immunity, it sounded like their informant could be involved.
The police come back and say, we can't promise that. You've got to go ahead and tell us what you know.
Despite refusing to offer upfront immunity, the attorney arranges for his client to come in for an interview. The man is 48-year-old Donovan Walker, a name that's already been brought up in the investigation once.
I know she called a dude named Donovan.
Once in the interrogation room, he tells the investigators that he was a friend of Felicia Span.
They had done drugs together, and they had, at some point, had an intimate relationship.
Although Donovan says it was drugs that brought Felicia to his place late on the Friday night that she disappeared.
She made a call and told me she was at my back door.
Donovan Walker lives there on Tennessee Street and was able to confirm to the police that that burner phone was his.
She was trying to get rid of some marijuana.
Donovan tells police that he let Felicia come inside to make a drug trade.
He says the only other person in the house was his girlfriend, 34-year-old Hanifa Muhammad.
According to Donovan, Hanifa was in the living room, hanging out when Felicia arrived.
Donovan says that while he and Felicia worked out a deal for the marijuana, Hanifa excused herself to the bedroom.
I had a piece of dope, and I swapped the crack for the marijuana. And she hit the crack, sitting right there.
Donovan says that was when the trouble started.
Donovan said every time Felicia would get high, her personality would change.
Donovan expressed to us that whenever she used drugs, that she would get kind of out of her mind a little bit.
She gets in that stage, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
According to Donovan, that may have explained what Felicia supposedly did next.
She went in there to the bedroom where my girl was laying down asleep. Once she gets the crack and everything, she like women,
She like what now?
She like women, Everybody know that.
Donovan said when Felicia would get high, their inhibitions were lowered.
He said that Felicia Span had made some kind of a sexual advance toward Hanifa Muhammad.
She went and slapped my girl on the head in a sexual manner, I guess.
At least that's what Hanifa thought Felicia was doing. And Hanifa became enraged.
I run in and my girl had jumped up.
Get out.
What's going on?
Get on your
That's it.
I said, well, you got to go.
Donovan says that while he and Felicia argued, Hanifa decided to escalate the standoff.
She went and got a gun.
She said she was going to scare out Well, she wouldn't come back.
But according to Donovan, things didn't go exactly as Hanifa intended.
She was going to shoot in the air and make it tell don't come back there no more. But when she went up with the gun like this, the gun went off.
The gun went off and shot Felicia in the back of the head.
Donovan claims Felicia had been killed instantly.
Once she had died, the two of them had to figure out what to do.
I said, we need to call the police. She said, no, what, you gonna snitch on me? I said, snitch on you? This girl is dead.
I didn't bring her in this house. You did.
She said, what you need to do is help me dispose of this body.
Being that they're in a relationship, he says that he followed her orders.
What happened after that? We moved the body.
He helped Muhammad wrap Span's body up in plastic, and they took it out to the church and dumped it.
Donovan also claims that after they left Felicia on the church grounds, he got rid of the gun.
He threw the murder weapon in an open field.
We were unsuccessful in locating the weapon at that time.
Even without the murder weapon, the police and prosecutors are convinced they have a solid case.
Based on information that he gave us, we believe that to be enough evidence to secure a warrant for him for the charge of murder.
The prosecutor figured it was the first step towards leveraging a deal with Donovan. Plead guilty to a lesser charge in return for a testimony against Hanifa Muhammad.
But first, the case against Donovan will have to go before the grand jury.
The district attorneys and detectives presented all the evidence they had before a jury and tried to secure a charge against Mr. Walker.
The case is dealt an unexpected setback when the grand jury decides there is not enough evidence to charge Donovan Walker with murder.
Donovan receives a no bill, which means that he is not going to be charged with the deaths of Felicia Span.
The police were completely taken aback.
But it's even worse for Felicia's family.
They've already lived this once. They've already lost one of their loved ones, and it was never solved.
And now it looks like there may be no justice for Felicia either.
Donovan Walker has told detectives investigating the death of Felicia Span that his girlfriend, Hanifa Muhammad, accidentally shot the 41-year-old during an altercation in his home.
His story was, yes, Miss Muhammad did shoot Felicia. Yes, I did help transport the body.
But despite his confession, Donovan Walker remains a free man.
The grand jury doesn't think he had anything to do with it, or at least not enough to take him to trial.
It was a big shock to detectives. We thought we had a strong case that he should have been charged with murder.
The news of Donovan Walker's release is hard for Felicia's family to understand.
They're looking at a situation where their loved one has been shot in the head and there are no answers.
But detectives aren't about to give up.
Detectives figured their only chance was to bring Hanifa in and see if she cracks when confronted with Donovan's story.
Finding Hanifa proves difficult, however.
We believe that she had been hiding from the police.
It's not until August 12, 2014, almost a year after Felicia's death, that detectives finally track her down.
We got a tip that Miss Hanifa was at a location. Officers then went to this location.
Come on out.
They were able to locate her in a bedroom.
We then advised her that, did you know the police that were looking for you? She said yes, but I figured they don't need to question me because I don't know too much.
Despite her initial denial, once back at the station, Hanifa has plenty to tell detectives, and they are shocked with how quickly she reveals the truth.
She gave us a statement advising that she did shoot Felicia Span in the back of the head.
Well, Hanifa tells police that Felicia Span did come over and try to exchange drugs.
Hanifa's story to police is that they all got a little bit under the influence of alcohol and potentially drugs.
Hanifa says that she eventually did head back to the bedroom.
I was tired, so I went and lay down on the bed.
So you were alone in the bedroom?
Yeah, I was at first.
Until Felicia came into the room.
Hey, girl.
Felicia Span tapped Hanifa Muhammad on the buttocks as if she wanted to have some type of romantic or sexual encounter with her.
I just don't do that. Another woman? You know, I don't do that.
So what happened there?
Hanifa said that she told Felicia to get out.
Hell no. Whoa, what are you doing? Why don't you just chill out?
Hey, what's going on?
Once the argument ensued, Donovan came and kind of dispersed the two.
I want her out.
Hanifa told the detectives that she got her handgun from her bedroom.
I just had it for protection. I thought if she saw it, she'd get scared and just leave.
She then was raising the weapon, and the weapon then discharged, shooting Felicia Spann in the back of the head.
I didn't mean to kill her.
But based on Donovan's account of how enraged Hanifa had been by Felicia's alleged advances, detectives doubt Hanifa's claims that it was an accident.
We believe there was an intentional gunshot wound to the back of the head.
But whether Felicia's death was an accident or not, there's no denying that Hanifa and Donovan tried to hide what had transpired.
No, how are we going to explain this?
Donovan advised that he know where he could take the body.
He'd been to the lake on the property owned by the church, so he knew how secluded it was out there. By the time anyone found the body, there'd be no way they'd be able to connect them to Felicia's death.
So Hanifa says she helped Donovan wrap the body in a plastic tarp and dump it near the lake.
Donovan then took some clothing, shoes that he had on that were bloody from Felicia's blood, dumped them in a dumpster, telling Miss Hanifa that nobody needs to know about this.
Detectives aren't sure who's telling the truth.
While speaking with Donovan, he gave me kind of the sense of he's just trying to beat Hanifa to the punch.
It's pretty clear Donovan hoped coming forward voluntarily might be enough to keep him out of prison.
However, between the two statements, there is no doubt that it was Hanifa who fired the fatal shot.
The case was tight on actually who pulled the trigger.
And this time, the grand jury agrees.
She was charged with a second-degree murder.
Hanifa pled guilty.
She was sentenced to 40 years in prison with 20 years suspended and 20 years to serve.
It brought a lot of closure to know that someone was going to be serving some time for Felicia Spann's murder, where her daughter, there's still no arrest in the case.
Donovan Walker, who helped Hanifa hide Felicia's body, has never paid a price for what he did either.
And while Felicia's murder has been solved, the outcome does little to dull the pain of losing her.
It was a senseless killing. You pulled the gun out just to scare someone, and someone actually ended up losing their life. And it's just senseless.
Losing your daughter in that manner and then dying the same way makes it to me even more of a tragedy.
If you or a loved one are struggling with substance abuse or mental health issues, there is help available. Call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration at 1-800-662-HELP. They were a young couple with their whole futures ahead of them.
She was very good in school, very smart.
He was a star basketball player.
He was her first real boyfriend.
She was on cloud nine.
But then she vanished.
She walked out of the door, and that was the last time anybody had seen her.
You start picturing your child alone, scared somewhere.
She knew that something was wrong.
Tell him, Eric.
Detectives' search for answers will reveal a shocking truth.
This wild story comes out that was never, ever reported.
I know she was talking to this guy recently.
As a family, it was gut-wrenching.
We had this secretive meeting, and it ended up being the most deadly secret that you could have.
January 12th, 2018. It's a chilly Friday afternoon in Fairfax County, Virginia, a sprawling bedroom community just south of the nation's capital.
It's a pretty big county, something like 500 square miles.
1.5 million people.
It's suburbia. Lots of single family homes, townhomes, condos, things like that. Just a place to raise families.
At the home of one Fairfax family, 16-year-old twins Jolie and Janae Musa are just arriving home from school.
They lived with their dad, and their mom lived in Texas at the time.
Their father was out of town, and both girls were supposed to be spending the night at their friends' houses. Jolie was supposed to spend the night at her friend Leslie's house, and Janae was supposed to spend the night at her friend Sophia's house.
Before their respective sleepovers, the girls spend time preparing for their night out with friends.
Okay. What do you think of this? It's pretty. I like it.
They were doing what teenagers do. They were talking, they were gossiping.
But to her sister, Jolie seems preoccupied.
She was distracted by her phone.
Hello? Jolie? Sorry.
Her sister's not really sure who she's talking to, but she's answering messages.
And you said you like the star, right?
Then, after several minutes of texting back and forth, Jolie's phone suddenly rings.
Hello? All right. I'm coming. I'll be back. What? Where are you going?
She grabs her jacket, and she has her phone, and she walks out of the door.
Jolie Musa and her twin sister, Janae, were inseparable as kids.
Obviously, being twins, they were super close. I mean, they had their own language.
They were joined at the hip. You see one, you see the other. If you didn't see them together, it was a rare occasion.
Their bond was very strong.
Sometimes they wouldn't even speak, and you could see that they were talking to each other, and then they both laugh. And you'd be like, what's happening?
They definitely loved each other and were always there to support one another.
However, as close as the sisters were, they weren't the same. Each had her own distinct personality.
As they got older, they still hung out together, but they had different friends.
Janae and Jolie always shared the same friends for the most part growing up, but I saw how they were kind of like branching off and finding a sense of independence.
Jolie wanted what she wanted, and it had to be done that way, the right way. Janae was more of a laid-back twin.
Jolie's drive served her well in school.
She was a very determined child, very determined to succeed.
She had purpose, and she knew off early what she wanted to do.
She wanted to go to NYU, and she wanted to become a writer.
She wrote music, she wrote poetry, she wrote stories. She wanted to publish her book that she was writing.
She was a very creative person. Jolie loved to write her own lyrics and just sing her song.
There was nothing that Jolie couldn't do if she set her mind to.
She was going to accomplish great things.
However, by Jolie's freshman year at Mount Vernon High, there was something else vying for her attention. A 17-year-old classmate named Nebu Ibrahim.
The first time I heard Jolie mention Nebu, she mentioned him as a boy that was in one of her classes that wouldn't stop staring at her. But she thought he was really cute.
Jolie, do you know him? No.
He played basketball. He had a lot of friends and he was very popular.
Is he walking over here? We'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
Once Nebu and Jolie started talking, she realized they had a lot in common.
He was enrolled in advanced classes, was on track to go to college, not a troublemaker or anything like that.
He was a good kid. You know, he was very respectful. He was very mannerable. He was Ethiopian. So, you know, he grew up culturally slightly different.
You got honors English next period?
Yeah.
Can I take you?
Sure.
So, like that.
Nebu was her first boyfriend. She had crushes on guys, but, before in middle school and stuff. But when Jolie first started dating Nebu, she was on cloud 9. She was always happy. Everything is butterflies and rainbows.
He provided her with a little extra attention, made her feel special.
She just really loved him, and she felt she could talk to him about anything.
She was happy. Everything was great.
But now, hours before their planned sleepovers, Jolie has rushed out the door with little explanation.
Half and half. Jolie was doing her hair and playing on her phone. In the middle of doing Janae's hair, Jolie said, "I'll be right back."
I'll be back, okay?
And she grabs her jacket.
Where are you going?
She gets a phone call and then she gets up and leaves the house.
Jolie didn't come back, though.
Her sister isn't initially alarmed.
There was a plan for her to go to a friend's house and spend the night. So when she doesn't come back, I think initially the thought is, hey, she probably went to a friend's house.
But Jolie's sister will soon have reason to worry.
Later on that evening, she received a text from Jolie saying, "I'm going to go to a party down in Norfolk."
Norfolk was 3 hours away.
It was near Old Dominion University.
It didn't make sense. That's not what Jolie would do.
For her to just get in the car with whomever and just go out of town.
They definitely believe that she's been taken against her will in some way, shape, or form. They do not believe in any way that she just walked away and didn't come back.
16-year-old Jolie Musa was destined to achieve big things.
Jolie wanted to become a writer. She was very focused on that.
She pretty much had her life mapped, which was very unusual for a 16-year-old.
But on the evening of January 12, 2018, Jolie has suddenly vanished.
She was doing Janae's hair. She got a phone call and she said, "I'll be right back." And she walked out of the door.
And then there's this message that comes from her phone saying something about going to a party at Old Dominion University down in Norfolk, a long distance away. That's really out of character for her.
The sister tried to contact her again, even after that text, kind of like, "What are you talking about?" And no response.
Despite that, Jolie's sister Janae doesn't contact her mother in Texas or her father, who's out of town on a business trip.
Janae knew from the original plan that she was going to stay at her friend's house locally, have a sleepover.
But the next morning, after arriving home from her friends, Janae gets a disturbing call from the friend that Jolie was supposed to be with.
Hello?
Hey, Janae, have you seen Jolie?
What do you mean? Wasn't she staying at your house?
She never showed.
The sleepover never happens.
Have you tried to call her?
Yeah, a bunch of times, but it's like her phone is off now.
Zane knew that something was wrong. Not being able to reach her by phone and not knowing where she is was alarming.
Worried about her sister, Janae contacts her uncle, who lives nearby.
Janae.
He was going to take care of them for the remainder of the time that their father was out of town.
It's Jolie. She was staying at Leslie's and she hasn't heard from her.
What? We know she had walked out of her own free will.
The family had a Ring video, so there's video showing her leaving the house.
You can see on the camera her walking away with her phone and her jacket on, and that's it. We don't know where she was going, who she was talking to, none of those things.
And that really starts the panic buttons that morning, because now they realize, okay, she's been gone for actually quite a long time, and we have no idea where she is.
Once Jolie's sister fills her uncle in on what's happened, he reaches out to the twins' mother in Texas.
Hello? What do you mean she's missing?
I was scared because it was so out of character for her to just drop off the face of the earth.
Understandably, Jolie's mother couldn't help but to fear the worst at that point.
She's 16. She's beautiful. She leaves of her own free will. We don't know who she's talking to or what happened before that.
At the time, there were a lot of young Black ladies that were being taken. You know, human trafficking, sex trafficking.
People think it doesn't happen, but it does. So that's definitely a fear that something could have happened to her, that she could have left and someone could have trafficked her. I've seen it happen before, and I've interviewed mothers who've lost their kids.
Desperate to find their daughter, both of Jolie's parents rushed to try to get back to Virginia.
Her father had to get a flight from California, and I had to get a flight from Texas.
While Jolie's parents anxiously await their flights, they do what little they can to aid in finding her.
They put every effort into trying to find her, calling people.
My first thought was, let's get her face out there. I was emailing news outlets with all of her information so that people know how she looks. So if they see her, they can, report it. That was like my main concern.
Janae and her uncle also go to the Fairfax County Police Station to file a missing persons report.
The family reports her last whereabouts, how she left the house, her phone number.
We knew what she was wearing and we knew the exact time she left the house. So we wanted to make sure that we gave that information.
Not that the detective taking the report seems all that concerned.
They thought she was a runaway.
Let's give some time. She may come back on her own.
It was very frustrating, to say the least.
Look, man, you don't understand. She's just 16. She wouldn't just run away.
She came from a very solid family. She had a good life, a really good life.
I'm going to call her mother. She'll tell you the exact same thing I just did.
When police reach Jolie's mother, who's still waiting at home for her flight, she's adamant that her daughter is in danger.
A runaway?
The police were telling me that she was a runaway, and I couldn't shake that my child would have not done this. There's no reason to leave.
My daughter?
No way. She was happy.
Run from what?
Or was it possible Jolie's mother was asking the wrong question?
Okay. Rather than what Jolie was running from, maybe it was more of a question of who she was running with.
Is she dating anyone?
Everybody looks to the boyfriend. That's the first thing that you do.
Jolie's mom tells police that her daughter had been dating a classmate named Nebu Ibrahim. But not anymore.
She broke up with him.
And the reason for the breakup added new urgency to the investigation.
I told him that Nebu put his hands on my child.
Stop, Nebu!
Police in Fairfax County, Virginia, have just learned that missing teen Jolie Musa recently broke up with her boyfriend, Nebu Ibrahim.
I told police about Nebu when we were filing the report.
Jolie broke up with her boyfriend a few months ago, and it was bad.
According to Jolie's mother, her daughter broke up with Nebu in September, not long after the start of her sophomore year. And shortly after the breakup, the two had a heated encounter.
At that time, Jolie and Nebu were going to the same school. On her way home, she encountered Nebu, who was waiting for her.
Hey, we need to talk.
I don't want to.
He wouldn't take no for an answer.
Not until you talk to me.
Stop, Nebu!
He confronted her, and during the course of the argument, he got physical.
She ends up on the ground, lying on her back.
Nebu jumped on her and started to hit her.
Stop, Nebu!
He ended up slapping her in the face.
Jolie's screams attracted the attention of a man nearby.
Hey, you leaving me? Keep your hands off her.
Nebu left. Police were called and talked to Jolie about what had happened.
911 emergency.
Hey, I think I just witnessed an assault.
I heard about it first from her father that same day. And when he told me, I felt extremely angry. I am very much a mother bear. So I was upset. I wanted to get on a plane and go at that moment.
The family pressed charges, leading to Nebu's arrest for assault.
He goes to the juvenile court and he pled guilty to the assault, and he was sentenced to perform 20 hours of community service, to undergo a mental health evaluation and follow any recommended treatment, and that he needed to complete an anger management program.
He's given a chance of having everything off his record if he's of good behavior for a year and has no contact with Jolie. And that was important to the family, no contact.
Because we had a stay away order, that would mean that he would have to leave their school.
He was sent to another alternative school in Fairfax.
Do you think they're staying away from each other?
Knowing that she was a teenager, he's a teenager, they might have been sneaking out to see each other.
Jolie's mother is adamant that isn't the case.
I had just asked her and she was like, no. There was no contact of any kind.
And now that she's missing, I don't know anymore.
Based on what they've learned from Jolie's mother, detectives pay a visit to the missing teen's ex-boyfriend.
Due to their past history, police went to talk to him.
It's literally just, hey, let's go talk to the boyfriend and see if he's seen her, see if he has any information that might help us figure out where she is.
However, Nebu has little information for the detectives.
You've been in contact with Miss Jolie?
No, sir.
He's saying that he hasn't talked to her in quite some time, that he had gotten in trouble and he had been told to stay away from her, and he hasn't seen her. He hasn't talked to her.
You have any idea where she is?
I have no idea.
He never really wavered.
Unwilling to take Nebu at his word, given his history with Jolie, detectives ask if they can search his cell phone.
But there was no indication that he had been in contact with her, not on the afternoon she disappeared or any time before that.
Detectives and a CSI tech also perform a quick search of his residence.
And that was a dead end. There was nothing that came from that.
Nebu an apparent dead end. The next morning, detectives circle back to Jolie's parents, who are now both in Virginia.
Is there anyone else you think we need to look into?
I can't think of anybody. Jolie didn't have enemies.
But Jolie's sister Jeanne does say that there is someone else the detective should talk to.
I know she was talking to this guy recently.
Do you have a name on it?
I only know his first name.
Her sister said, oh, I remember just being around her and, she would be texting and the person was named Gio.
Have you ever met him before?
No,
What else did she tell you about him?
not much. I didn't want to be nosy.
They were really close, but they had to give each other a little bit of space.
But now detectives wonder, could the mysterious Gio be the key to finding Jolie?
If the last relationship she's in is this Geo person, that was something that had to be followed up on.
We were trying to find out who this individual was.
Maybe she went with him to Old Dominion University for this party.
48 hours after Jolie Musa disappeared, detectives searching for the missing teen have a new lead.
I know she was talking to this guy recently. I only know his first name.
Her family and friends bring up the name Gio.
According to her sister, Gio was a boy Jolie had been trading texts with recently.
This person has contact with Jolie, so we need to get in touch with this individual to find out if he knows anything.
Hoping to learn more, detectives subpoena Jolie's phone records.
Does she have a contact named Gio? Who does she talk to all the time?
Then, while waiting for Jolie's cell provider to respond, detectives reach out to the FBI and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
They're chasing every possibility. Any, criminal activity that's happened recently where someone's been abducted and investigating a missing juvenile.
And then trying to use that information to find her alive. I mean, that's the hope.
With each passing day, Fairfax police become increasingly concerned for Jolie's safety.
There were some pretty big red flags. From the day that she goes missing, her social media pages go dormant, which is very, very odd for any teenage girl.
She hasn't instituted any communication back to her family. She hasn't voluntarily come home.
Still, Jolie's family remains steadfast in their commitment to find her.
We were canvassing areas with flyers and just going out and talking to people throughout the area.
We were just going crazy, basically, trying to figure out where she could possibly be.
I had no intentions on stopping it. I was hoping against hope until I hear otherwise.
And when detectives receive Jolie's phone records a few days later, they finally have what appears to be a solid clue.
One of the last phone calls, it's an unknown number.
When detectives look up the number, they learn that it belongs to a 13-year-old boy named Eric Brand. Later that afternoon, detectives contact Eric's parents and ask them to bring him in for an interview.
I want to talk to you about the phone call you made to this girl. Because shortly thereafter, she went missing.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
He was terrified. He was terrified.
I don't even know who this girl is.
How do you explain her number in your phone?
Eric says that on the Friday afternoon before Jolie disappeared, he'd been hanging out in a nearby park.
He said an older boy approached him and asked him for a favor.
All I did was let this guy borrow my phone.
He had seen him before, so he was okay lending him his phone.
Do you know his name?
No.
What do he look like?
Strong guy. Scary looking.
The description doesn't match Nebu. But could it be Gio?
The detectives didn't even know what this Gio guy looked like.
Whoever he was, Eric is able to confirm that the older boy did meet up with the girl.
Did you see the girl?
Yeah, I saw her.
What did she look like?
Pretty, light-skinned, older than me.
He described what she was wearing, and that matched the description of what Jolie was wearing when she left the house.
His story gives detectives what appears to be a solid lead.
Whoever this older kid was, he seemed to have been the last person with Jolie before her disappearance.
Is he the mysterious Gio, or could he be someone else?
The General Investigation Section did some extensive interviews of anybody that they could track down, meaning friends and family members, trying to get as much information as possible.
But detectives soon hit a wall.
The more we look into Gio, the more it just seems like there is no Gio. We can't find anything that would indicate that this Gio is a real person.
However, while talking to Jolie's friends, detectives do find a young woman named Elena Merritt. And what she tells them will turn the case upside down.
This wild story comes out that was never ever reported to the police.
According to Elena, Nebu and Jolie had never really stopped communicating.
Nebu has been in contact with her through social media, through third parties.
Jolie had even told Elena that Nebu blamed her for his transfer to the alternative school.
To him, it was a big deal. It was a very big deal.
He's really angry about not being able to hang out with his friends and play basketball.
So in early December, according to Elena, Jolie agreed to meet with Nebu to try to talk things out.
I think she wanted to break it with him and have kind of a clean break.
But things hadn't gone as Jolie planned.
Elena tells detectives that later that evening, Jolie had shown up at her house, covered in bruises.
They had argued about their relationship. He got very angry.
She describes him just putting his hands around her neck and squeezing.
She thought she was going to die.
She had told him to stop, but he wouldn't stop, and she passed out.
By the time Jolie came to, Nebu was gone.
We just realized that at this point, she's most likely deceased, and he's probably at fault for it.
But where's the proof? The answer comes a few days later when Eric Brand returns to the police station.
Tell him, Eric. I wasn't totally honest with you the first time we talked.
It was a bombshell.
Everything starts to come out.
And that's when our suspicion came to reality.
I didn't want to believe that that type of evil existed.
Detectives investigating the disappearance of 16-year-old Jolie Musa have just uncovered potentially damning information about her ex-boyfriend, Nebu Ibrahim.
We had evidence at that point in time that he had strangled her a month prior.
And now the 13-year-old who had seen Jolie on the evening of her disappearance has just come forward with another shocking revelation.
He admitted that the initial description of the person who he saw with Jolie was incorrect.
I'm sorry I lied, but the guy said he'd pay me.
He communicated to that witness, hey, if the police ask, don't tell them you saw me.
The witness's new description leaves detectives with little doubt about their suspect's identity.
The description that the young man gave matched Nebu.
And then we had him being seen with a girl that matched Jolie's description on the day that she disappeared.
That put Jolie and Nebu together after he had told the police that he hadn't seen her for days and hadn't talked to her for days.
Yes, sir.
So that witness is basically showing that Nebu is a liar.
Detectives suspect he may also be a killer.
He had choked her before and made her pass out.
However, they didn't have any evidence that Nebu killed Jolie this time,
We don't have a body.
but they did have an idea of where to find one.
On January 26th, Fairfax County authorities descend on the park where Jolie met up with Nebu.
The next logical step is to actually do a physical grid walk of this park.
Hey, guys.
Just off one of the trails, an officer spots what appears to be a boot protruding from a pile of leaves.
They had a body that was partially covered with leaves and debris.
Jolie Musa is no longer missing. While the coroner's team removes Jolie's body for autopsy, detectives face the grim task of informing the family that Jolie is dead.
It was horrible for them.
When Detective Byerson told us that Jolie's body was found and it was her, I remember hearing the news, and then I just remember being in a lot of physical pain. I never understood the term heartbroken, but you physically feel like your heart is broken.
We didn't want to find her like this, but we found her, and now we have to figure out, what do we do from this point on?
When detectives receive the autopsy report the following day, the findings reveal exactly how Jolie had died.
They found the hemorrhages in the brain that you would find from strangulation.
The autopsy is more than enough to convince detectives that Nebu is Jolie's killer.
Knowing that he had done that before obviously was a factor in our believing that he was the person responsible.
Detectives suspected that this mysterious Gio was simply Jolie's cover name for Nebu.
However, while detectives are certain they found Jolie's killer, will it be enough to convince a jury?
The hardest thing you have to do is tell a family that you're not sure that you will ever be able to bring their daughter's murderer to justice. And that's where we were at that time. If we were to go to trial on what we have now, we would probably lose.
We needed more evidence if we were going to prosecute him.
However, the investigators have a strategy to overcome that.
They decided to charge Nebu for assault for the earlier strangling incident, the one where Jolie passed out.
If he's convicted of strangulation, that, along with the prior assault in September, could be used as pieces of evidence in a subsequent murder conviction. And so it was very important that we had this strangulation conviction.
And then shift our focus to a murder charge and, really seek justice for Jolie.
Investigators feel confident they have the evidence to convict Nebu for the December assault.
We're actually able to track down some social media messages that he made to a friend of his admitting to that strangulation, and even more disturbing, admitting that he believed that he had killed her.
Once the prosecutors explain their plan, the family agrees to go along.
We both had the same objective, literally the same objective. I want him to be convicted and to the full extent of the law. And they were like, okay, well, that's what we want to.
This family was so gracious and so helpful in every step of the way. I can't speak highly enough about them. It was so humbling, the trust they gave us.
On January 30th, 2018, detectives placed Nebu under arrest for the December assault.
Detectives also took a sample of his DNA.
By being able to lock him up, provided us additional time for some of the lab results and stuff to come back.
We offered a plea to the defense in that case on the strangulation case. He agreed to do that.
He pled guilty on the strangulation. He was deferential to the judge. He put on the remorseful act. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm sorry. I've learned my lesson.
But when detectives receive the DNA results, it's clear that Nebu has a harder lesson coming.
We got DNA evidence that put Nebu's DNA around Jolie's neck.
He's going to have to explain that in some way, shape, or form.
At the end of August 2018, when Nebu is released from jail on the assault charge, the detectives are waiting.
As he leaves the jail complex, I inform Nebu that he's under arrest for the murder of Jolie Musa.
They took him to the police headquarters, had him sit down.
We knew we were on our way to getting justice for this murder.
Our case is solid against you.
They advised him of his Miranda rights, made it clear, you don't have to talk to me. And Nebu immediately was like, okay, I want to talk to you.
All right. So let me tell you what really happened.
After his arrest for the murder of 16-year-old Jolie Musa, her ex-boyfriend Nebu Ibrahim says he's willing to tell detectives what happened.
All right, I'm going to tell you what happened.
For a homicide detective, that's gold. You want to have that confession.
I wasn't sure.
Nebu begins by admitting that he had been in contact with Jolie on the Friday that she disappeared.
He goes to this park area. He approaches someone that he knows from around the neighborhood, and he uses that person's phone to call Jolie and to contact Jolie to get her to come out to meet him.
What did you expect to happen?
Really wasn't sure, but I know it was going to get bad.
Filtered that through the context of having previously choked her to the point of passing out. So I believe to this day that he embarked on this mission to kill her, that he knew exactly how bad it would get, as evidenced by the fact that he leaves his phone at home.
Whether he intended to kill Jolie or not, Nebu admits that when they met up in the park, things did become heated.
The argument itself got, by his own description, very loud. He blames her for his life getting turned upside down. He's extremely angry about this.
You ruined my life. I can't go out with my friends. I can't play basketball.
He blamed her for the things in his life not going as he planned them.
His anger just built in him for months on end, and he refused to take responsibility for his own actions.
Whose fault is that?
Yours.
It's just shocking to me that he had no self-awareness, that he just chose to kind of go down the path of blaming others for his woes.
He was mad that she was just going to walk away from him and continue her life.
Because they were no longer at the same school, I think he had a lot of suspicion that she was seeing other guys at Mount Vernon.
He was a very jealous individual, very controlling. I think control was important to him.
And plus, I know you out here being a...
I'm not seeing anybody. We're done.
Nebu says that when Jolie stormed off, his anger boiled over.
That puts him into a rage. He gets so angry, puts her in MMA-style chokehold. He gives us a rough time estimate of maybe a minute or two that he holds this.
He had every opportunity to stop.
But Nebu kept going.
He lays her down on her back on the trail, that he straddles her, so he's literally sitting on top of her. And then he shows us how he takes both of his hands and puts them around her neck and squeezes and continues to strangle her.
He's over her at one point, looking down at her face as he's doing this. Strangulation is a very intimate form of murder.
Did you ever consider stopping?
Yeah. But I kept going anyway.
He describes this with no emotion, no remorse. He proceeds to end her life and literally take her last breath from her.
And if this can't get any more horrible, he then describes a third strangulation where he picks up her lifeless body, scoots behind her, and puts her back in that original MMA-type chokehold for an even longer time.
After that, I knew I had to get rid of the body.
He describes picking up her lifeless body to move her off the trail.
He covered her with leaves so that she wouldn't be discovered.
And you sent the text to her sister?
Yeah.
He sent the text because he wanted to buy himself time. Then he tossed Jolie's phone in a pond that was nearby his house.
Once his confession is over, prosecutors charge Nebu with first-degree murder.
First-degree murder is premeditated murder, and his statement lent itself to first-degree murder. He said he knew he could stop, and he didn't, and he said he was going to end it.
If that's not premeditation, I don't know what the definition of it is.
Once Nebu's booked back into the Fairfax County Jail, detectives inform Jolie's family that her killer has been caught.
When I got the phone call stating that he had confessed, I remember crying, just like profusely. I mean, like, I think I may have even hollered a little bit. There was like a weight that lifted up off my shoulders.
While Jolie's family breathes a sigh of relief, the walls close in around Nebu.
In Virginia, at the time, if you were over 14 years of age and were charged with murder, you were going to be tried as an adult. We just had a rock-solid case on the murder.
He wanted to plead guilty, and we said, okay, understanding there is no agreement as to sentence. You're basically throwing yourself upon the mercy of the court.
I think he thought by pleading guilty, he might get some favorable reduction in his sentence.
At his sentencing on September 4th, 2019, Nebu does everything he can to sway the judge's decision.
He was crying and, I'm sorry to the family, and this is why I'm pleading guilty.
But when it's her turn to speak, Jolie's mother is having none of it.
I said, don't let him fool you like he fooled me. He's a sociopath and he is a murderer, and he took my child's life for no reason.
And a mother's word makes the difference.
Ultimately, the judge did sentence him to life in prison.
I am extremely happy that he got the maximum.
But no sentence will ever make up for the loss Jolie's family endures.
We don't get to see her grow up where her life could have led her. Like, those things were taken from us.
There's nothing about her that I don't miss.
Jolie was a lovely person with an absolutely beautiful soul and a big heart. And Jolie is still with me. I carry her with me, and she's still my child, whether she's on this earth or not.
Abuse is never okay. If you or someone you love is in an abusive relationship, there is help available. Call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. He was rebuilding his future in the wake of tragedy.
Katrina brought all this out here. He had his own life that he was restarting over in Texas.
He also found his voice along the way.
He started rapping about his trials and, things he's been through.
He was trying to pursue that as maybe a career.
A new love seemed to be a signal that the tides had finally turned.
They got to know each other really well.
He was happy. I always wanted to bring her around.
Until rough waters threatened to upend his life again.
This was a very unique and different storm. It was powerful, and it kept on going inland.
It was crazy. He just went silent.
Was this another missing person lost in Hurricane Harvey?
The evidence would reveal something far more ominous.
When I seen the news, I got sick to my stomach, physically ill.
What better way to make someone disappear than in the midst of a hurricane?
Whoa. August 18th, 2017. It's Friday evening in Baytown, Texas, a blue-collar town on the Houston Shipping Channel.
It's a large port area where you're going to have a lot of cargo and shipping, the various refineries or the various plastic companies.
That's pretty much the lifeblood of the town for many years.
As people are getting off of work from Baytown's refineries and chemical plants, they keep a watchful eye on the news.
Hurricane Harvey was making its way across the Caribbean at that point and threatening to turn towards Texas.
And the storm is pretty much the number one thing on people's minds because they've seen what storms can do here.
This was 9 years just after Hurricane Ike that cost billions in damage and killed dozens. So it was pretty understandable why people were nervous.
However, even with the threat of a hurricane, one Baytown woman has a more urgent matter. A little after 6 p.m., 30-year-old Sierra Sutton arrives at the Baytown police station to report that her boyfriend, 32-year-old Stephen Coleman, has been missing since Wednesday.
It was a little past 7 p.m. when he left, and he was only supposed to be gone for a little while.
She said he just got up and walked out the door, and she said that was the last time she saw him.
He was supposed to meet his daughter that night.
Have you talked to her, the daughter?
Called her mother, but they haven't seen her.
Sierra said she also called several of Stephen's friends who hadn't heard from him either.
Sierra claims that it's unlike Stephen to not be in touch with his friends and family.
I knew something wasn't right with Stephen when I didn't hear from him because we would talk all the time.
If he home, he gonna call me. Something just didn't add up.
Get it? I understand.
Louisiana native Stephen Coleman had come to Texas in 2005, blown there by a different storm.
When Hurricane Katrina hit the New Orleans area, it was devastating. And Stephen, he was one of over 200,000 people who fled Louisiana and then settled in Houston, Texas.
Most of the people fleeing Katrina landed in the Houston area with little money and spent years struggling to rebuild their lives.
Stephen was no exception.
He needed to make some money. He needed a couple of dollars in his pocket because he was trying to get somewhere to stay.
He was looking for a job.
The problem was he had a few strikes against him.
Stephen had grown up in one of the toughest areas in New Orleans and had gotten into some trouble.
He went to jail for just being in the streets.
He had a few minor offenses on his record, like misdemeanor drug possession and carrying a handgun without a license.
But Stephen refused to let his past define him.
He had a great heart, great sense of humor. He was just a good person.
Here's a guy who maybe had a little bit of a past. He's trying to turn it around, trying to look for a better future like we all do.
After months of struggling, Stephen managed to find a place for himself in Baytown, a bustling suburb of Houston.
Baytown is right on the coast of Galveston Bay. It's about half an hour from downtown Houston, and it's got big business in oil refining and steel manufacturing.
He worked at a chemical plant, and he was a hard worker.
The more he got into it, the better he got. He was seeing his capabilities. So he went from the rookie to the supervisor.
However, for all Stephen's dedication and success at his job, music was his true passion.
Now this one right here, epic. He had made this rap CD and was trying to pursue that as maybe a career.
Stephen loved his music. He was really good at his craft.
His music was like a way to express a lot of stuff that we was going through.
Got 100 hustles. Let me show you how I can hit the block broke and get $1 million right now. Got 100 hustles.
It was so realistic. It was raw. He was gifted. People was telling, man, hey, man, this song, man, I listen to this song, bro. And, it had me feeling like this. It made me believe, and it gave me hope.
Raw, real, and full of hope, Stephen was a rising star in both the Houston rap scene and back home in New Orleans.
He had a lot of fans from Facebook and stuff like that.
One of those fans was Sierra Sutton.
Been playing on Facebook one day. He got a friend request. So the friend request was Sierra.
At the time, Sierra lived in New Orleans.
Stephen and Sierra knew each other. They knew each other from Louisiana. But the relationship really grew when they connected on social media.
So he ended up going down there. They do their thing. She left it, and she came here.
Sierra didn't come to Baytown alone, however. She also brought her 10-year-old daughter.
There you go. She had a daughter. And he had a daughter.
Stephen's daughter was about the same age as Sierra's, but he had a complicated relationship with the little girl's mother. So he went out of his way to be there for Sierra's daughter.
Once in Baytown, Sierra and Stephen started building their life together.
She went the extra mile for him, help him, support him, kind of take some of the pressure off him.
And with Sierra by his side, Stephen could focus on taking his musical career to the next level.
He wanted to get his music out more. He wanted to do a bunch of shows. He wanted to try to sign to a label.
But this rising star has now faded from view. In mid-August of 2017, Sierra Sutton claims Stephen has been missing for the last 2 days.
He was only supposed to be gone for a little while.
And with an impending disaster approaching off the coast of Baytown, his girlfriend believes something worse may have already happened to Stephen.
I'm afraid it's because of some of the things that he used to be into.
What do you mean by that? What kind of things?
Some of the people he used to run with, they were trouble.
In the summer of 2017, with his #1 fan Sierra Sutton at his side, and his rap career on the rise, it looked as if there were no limits for Stephen Coleman.
He was always in a good space. Every day he woke up with something on his mind. Every day he's setting goals, different plans.
He was really good at what he did, but he also worked as well. So he was rapping and working. If it wasn't at work, he was at the studio.
But now, Sierra has just gone to the police and reported that she hasn't seen or heard from Stephen in 48 hours.
She goes to the cops and says she's missing. They take her statements and get all the information from her.
According to Sierra, with Hurricane Harvey fast approaching, Stephen had left their apartment on Wednesday night to check on his daughter from a previous relationship.
She lives with her mama.
Do you know the mother's name?
Kimberly Wiley.
Him and his baby mom, they started talking to each other and they had got back cool and, he started going over.
Kimberly and Stephen's daughter had moved to the Houston area as well after Katrina. So this was perfect for Stephen to be able to see his daughter on a regular basis.
He was trying to be there and help with the daughter.
But that Wednesday night, Stephen never showed up to see his daughter.
How you know that?
Because I asked her.
Kimberly, correct?
Yeah, I called her when I couldn't get a hold of Stephen.
Exes are often considered persons of interest, so detectives were suspicious of Kimberly.
However, Sierra offers up a different possibility.
In the missing person report that Sierra filed, she volunteers some theories that Stephen went back to his old ways and he was back amongst a rough crowd.
Some of the people he used to run around with, they were trouble.
Is he doing anything illegal now?
Not that I know of.
With Sierra offering little in the way of names, detectives can hardly start to investigate anyone specific. But Sierra does reveal one clue that indicates something nefarious may have happened to Stephen.
What makes you think that?
Both his cars are still in the parking lot.
He was a car person. He had 2 cars. He had just gotten a new Jaguar. He loved that car.
That right there raised red flags. Why would he just walk off somewhere without even taking his vehicle?
He just loved his car. He did not want to leave his car behind. This dude don't even want to ride with me in my car to go to the corner store.
I'm just really worried about him.
I get it. Understand.
We'll do everything we can, ma'am.
Once they finish filling out the missing persons report, detectives issue a be on the lookout for Stephen.
We cannot just put everything on hold just because there's a hurricane coming.
They also do a background check on Stephen, but find nothing to indicate he was associating with criminals, nor that he was a hardened criminal.
There were a few minor charges in his past, but there was nothing recent.
He was not somebody who looked for trouble. He did not seem like a bad guy at all.
With his background and apparent dead end, detectives subpoena his cell phone and financial records.
They started to check his bank accounts and they started to kind of backtrack.
Any activity on Stephen's debit and credit cards would have left a trail that detectives could trace.
While waiting to hear back from Stephen's bank and cell phone provider, detectives pay a visit to the apartment complex he and Sierra call home.
The initial canvas showed his cars are there,
Detectives didn't find any trace of blood or anything around the cars to indicate foul play.
Canvassing the apartment complex also fails to produce any leads.
They had a recent picture of Stephen with a missing persons flyer. Nobody really ever heard of any kind of disturbances or fights that they had shared with the detectives and the police officers. So it didn't look like anything really significant would have gone on in the apartment complex.
The detective's next move is questioning Kimberly Wiley, Stephen's ex and mother to his 8-year-old daughter.
Sierra told detectives that she had talked to Kimberly and neither she nor her daughter had heard from Stephen.
When detectives meet with Kimberly at the Baytown Police Department, her story seems to line up with Sierra's.
Kimberly, when was the last time you spoke to Stephen?
Monday afternoon.
But you were supposed to see him on Wednesday. Is that right?
That was the plan. He was supposed to come by to see our daughter.
Kimberly told them the same thing Sierra did, that Stephen was supposed to come see his daughter on Wednesday night.
However, Kimberly claims that once Wednesday rolled around, she never heard from Stephen, so she made other plans.
What were you doing?
I was with a friend.
To detectives, Kimberly's answers seem evasive. Could she be denying seeing Stephen on Wednesday because something more sinister had happened?
Thank you for coming in.
Her story was a little unconvincing, but detectives weren't even sure if anything had happened to Stephen at this point.
They really needed his phone records to give them some sort of lead.
Later that afternoon, detectives received Stephen's phone records, and it appears Kimberly is telling the truth. Stephen hadn't even called her on Wednesday. However, there is one final outgoing call on Stephen's records that could give them a new suspect.
Who was the last person that we know Stephen spoke to? A woman named Rose.
Rose Lawrence?
Yes.
While clouds from Hurricane Harvey roll in over the Texas coast, detectives investigating the disappearance of Stephen Coleman have just gotten their first lead in the case.
According to Stephen's phone records, the last person that he spoke to before he disappeared was a woman named Rose Lawrence.
With the window of opportunity to find Stephen Coleman narrowing, interviewing the last person who had contact with him could be the break detectives need.
Rose Lawrence?
Yes.
We understand you're friends with Stephen Coleman.
Yeah. Why?
I need to ask you a few questions about him.
She readily admits she knows Stephen very well. They were very close.
When you say close, what exactly do you mean?
That kind of statement usually makes detectives wonder, is it just a friendly relationship, or could they be looking at a love triangle?
We're just friends. I've known Stephen for years. He'd come by from time to time and we'd hang out, talk, you know?
Rose explains that on the Wednesday Stephen disappeared, he was supposed to stop by on his way to see his daughter, but he never arrived.
He didn't show?
No.
Rose said she wasn't worried about it because between his job, his music, his girlfriend, and his daughter, Stephen was very busy. She just thought something had come up.
It did seem strange. When I called him the next day, he never answered or returned my call.
She never heard from him. That was the last conversation she ever had with him.
When you hear from Stephen, let him know we're trying to find him.
I will. I just hope he's okay.
Detectives aren't sure if Rose is telling them the whole story. So now the question becomes, did Sierra Sutton know about Rose and Stephen's friendship?
Stephen's girlfriend Sierra hadn't said anything to detectives about him going over to Rose's on the night he disappeared.
Stephen might have been keeping Rose a secret because there was something more going on between them.
Detectives sensed the potential for a love triangle turned vengeful. But which woman had been scorned? Sierra Sutton or Rose Lawrence? And is Stephen Coleman still alive? On Sunday, 2 days after Sierra reported Stephen missing, detectives reach out to his family in hopes of learning more.
They make a phone call back to Louisiana to Stephen's mom.
She was very upset to hear about Stephen being reported missing.
They told her Sierra had filed a report on Friday.
Unfortunately, Stephen's mother has little insight on her son's relationship with Sierra.
She said she didn't know all that much about Stephen's life in Baytown.
However, she does reveal that she too has had trouble reaching him over the past several days.
Stephen's mom told detectives that she last heard from Stephen 5 days ago.
Now it's not only his girlfriend who hasn't had contact with him, it's his mother too.
When detectives get in touch with several of Stephen's Houston area friends, they share the same fears.
Something just didn't add up. He might go missing maybe a day or two. That was known. Or you talk to him a day, you probably don't talk to him maybe if not the next day, the following.
Asked if Stephen has any enemies, his friends claim the answer is unequivocally no.
People would look up to him. He was a very giving person and didn't mind helping others.
He's definitely a guy that you will want in your life. He'll uplift you and he'll never let you down.
However, Stephen's friends also admit that he wasn't perfect, and they reveal some details about him that lend credence to detectives' earlier suspicions.
He did have a penchant for having a lot of women.
Stephen's friends told police that he was never really satisfied with having just one girlfriend.
According to his friends, Stephen's refusal to stay monogamous eventually led to issues with Sierra.
Apparently, Sierra has suspected him of sleeping around.
She definitely got jealous.
According to Stephen's friends, not only was Stephen seeing other women, he talked about ending his relationship with Sierra.
He just didn't feel that he wanted to be with her anymore. And so he was going to break up with her.
However, while Stephen had no intention of settling down, he wasn't about to put Sierra on the street.
It was a difficult situation for him to try to get Sierra out because, number one, she had a daughter.
And she didn't have nowhere to go. She had nobody there.
Does the impending breakup suggest that Sierra had something to do with Stephen's disappearance?
It's certainly a good motive to make somebody disappear.
Or was there some other explanation for why no one's heard from Stephen Coleman?
In an investigation, if you leave one stone unturned, well, that's going to be the stone that you should have looked at.
And on August 22nd, detectives will get their answer.
4 days after Stephen disappeared, some workers at the county landfill were burying the day's haul when something unusual happened.
It's a landfill. Heaps and mounds of garbage. The smell, the stench in the air.
But it's not just the stench of garbage that's in the air.
Oh! What is it that they see? The torso of a human body.
On August 22nd, 4 days after Stephen Coleman's girlfriend, Sierra Sutton, reported him missing, workers at a landfill just outside of Baytown, Texas, have just made a gruesome discovery.
As they were pushing dirt over the garbage, they saw what appeared to be a dismembered body.
The only thing they found was the torso. They find nothing else.
Oh, y'all do. Hey, call 911.
When detectives investigating Stephen Coleman's disappearance receive information that a black male has been found, they immediately make their way to the scene. But there is nothing to help identify the body on site.
It's just a portion of a body. There's no head. There's no way to identify really who it is.
It was also not really clear to detectives how the man died.
Detectives are looking at this decomposing torso. It's been dismembered. It's been mutilated.
Have the remains of Stephen Coleman been found?
But there is a science to landfills.
As the coroner's crew removes the torso for autopsy and identity testing, detectives wait for confirmation before informing Stephen's family in New Orleans.
For a family that is already concerned about a loved one being missing, to have to go inform a family that their loved one is dead. That is emotional enough. But then to have to, on top of that, say, here's the condition we found your loved one in, to have to go tell the family that is just horrific.
But when the gruesome discovery makes the local news, family and friends of Stephen Coleman fear the worst.
When I seen the news, I got sick to my stomach. Physically ill. I could not believe what I just saw on TV. It was just crazy. And everyone that knows him pretty much felt the same thing.
I was hoping that what they found wasn't him. I was hoping that he was just hiding somewhere, ducked off somebody, doing his thing.
With the strong belief they've located the body of Stephen Coleman, detectives believe their next step is to follow up with the girlfriend who reported him missing, Sierra Sutton.
They contact Sierra, say they have a huge development in the case of Stephen, and they need to discuss some very important things with her. And they ask her to come down and talk. And she says, yep, I'll come down.
But now Sierra is the one who's disappeared, and the timing seems a little too perfect. On August 23rd, with Hurricane Harvey's impending landfall, the governor declares a state of emergency, sending South Texas into a frenzy.
Could Sierra be fleeing the storm? The detectives just weren't sure.
She's off the grid. The detectives, they can't get a hold of Sierra.
However, even as detectives are trying to find Sierra, they finally hear back from Stephen's bank and find a promising lead.
His credit cards were used at a local store here in Baytown.
There was a $48 charge at around 8 on Thursday morning, which would have been after he disappeared.
This card should be with him. And now it's being used during the same time that he is missing.
When detectives contact the store, management agrees to send them a list of everything that was purchased. A mattress pad, rope, and duct tape.
The receipt listed items that detectives say look like things to dispose of his body.
Later that afternoon, detectives also received the surveillance video of the transaction.
They were looking for it. Who's on the video? Who was there using Stephen's card?
It makes no sense for him just to walk off and all of a sudden just go buy a bunch of items like duct tape and rope. What use would he have for any of that?
As the detectives suspected, it wasn't Stephen.
They're clearly able to see a woman making a purchase.
For what it appears, it looks like Sierra.
Detectives investigating the death of aspiring rapper Stephen Coleman have just found store security video that appears to implicate his girlfriend, Sierra Sutton.
The video showed Sierra using Stephen's credit card and buying items that detectives say look like things to dispose of his body.
There was receipts on this as well, and this is after, of course, he disappeared.
Detectives have been trying to get in touch with Sierra, but with Hurricane Harvey approaching rapidly, they have been unable to reach her.
It's been all over the news that police believe they found Stephen's dismembered remains in a local landfill.
There was also this possibility that Sierra had left town, at least temporarily, until things calmed down. There were a lot of people who sought shelter elsewhere.
With Sierra in the wind, detectives get a warrant to search the apartment she shared with Stephen.
The store video and the remains from the landfill were enough to give them probable cause.
They have a torso. There's got to be some kind of evidence somewhere.
Sierra Sutton, Baytown Police. Baytown Police.
They got that search warrant. And they execute the search warrant. Although they couldn't find Sierra.
You're not going to find her.
What do you mean?
She moved.
After they find this torso in the landfill, they go back to her place, and of course they find out she's not there. She's left.
She moved?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 days ago.
Detectives contact the complex manager, who lets them in the apartment.
Inside the apartment was essentially empty.
Definitely looks like she moved out.
She didn't have no money, so she went to selling the furniture to help her get some money to get back to New Orleans. He got some guys to help her.
You smell that?
There's a nice, fresh smell. To the naked eye, it seems like it's a clean apartment.
Let's get CSI in here. We get a luminol test here.
The detectives bring their crime scene unit in, and they use something what's called luminol.
When you spray luminol on a surface, it reacts to organic substances like blood, even if the surface has been cleaned and the traces are invisible to the human eye.
The luminol test doesn't reveal anything in the living room, but in the bedroom, it's a different story.
Once they sprayed the luminol and turned on the black light, it lit up on top of and right next to the bed. There were big smears that looked like someone had tried to clean up a lot of blood.
As a result of this luminol, what looks like a peaceful, serene apartment, under the proper light is a gruesome, bloody murder scene.
Of course, right then and there, they put two and two together and realized that it's a very strong likelihood that Sierra has something to do with it. Yes.
Before detectives can track Sierra down to make an arrest, Hurricane Harvey finally comes ashore on the Texas coast.
This was a very unique and different storm.
Rather than move inland, the storm essentially stalled out over the Houston area.
You had your typical storm surge, but a massive amount of rainfall. The rain kept on coming. This went on for over 5 days of straight rain. Picture torrential downpours for 5 straight days. So while all of Houston was underwater, Baytown, in particularly, was being swallowed up. Boats were being shipped inland, houses, water up to the rooftops.
Baytown police must now drop everything to focus on the crisis at hand, leaving Sierra Sutton on the run.
They're having to deal with the recovery process and organizing all that.
Hundreds of people were trapped by those floodwaters or turned up missing.
People were looking for their loved ones. In the midst of this storm.
But when the floodwaters recede, will it be too late to bring Sierra to justice?
I was praying that they would find her because she needed to pay for what she did.
While the Houston area is still tackling the cleanup weeks after Harvey had blown through, detectives assigned to Stephen Coleman's murder get an unexpected call in mid-September.
Homicide.
Hi. It's a woman from Louisiana. She tells detectives she knows Sierra Sutton.
She obviously had a lot of friends out there in Louisiana, friends she trusted.
But was Sierra's trust mistaken?
I know who killed Stephen Coleman.
Police in Baytown, Texas, have just received information that could close the case on Stephen Coleman's homicide.
Suddenly, there's a phone call from Sarah's friend named Brittany.
It's just Brittany.
Brittany confirmed that Sierra was hiding out in New Orleans, staying with a mutual friend.
She went to her best friend. She was trying to get them to help her and to hide her.
And detectives are pretty confident they know what she's hiding from.
I know who killed Stephen Coleman.
Brittany couldn't deal with the secrecy, so she called police in Baytown.
Having already pegged Sierra as Stephen's killer, detectives ask Brittany to share more details.
I want you to know how much we appreciate you calling and talking to us.
I would have called sooner, but I didn't want to believe it at first.
What she hears out of Sierra's lips disgusted her, made her sick, could not believe that another human being could do this to somebody that she supposedly loved.
The beginning of Brittany's story fits with what detectives have already heard from Stephen's friends.
She said that he'd been acting like he wanted her to move out.
She believed he was seeing somebody else. So their relationship was rocky.
And according to Brittany, Sierra said the tension between her and Stephen came to a head the day he disappeared.
She had a temper, and she did not take it lightly if someone was cheating on her.
You don't do that to me.
Look, if you don't like it, maybe you should go back home.
And it got to the point to where it was like, all right, go back to New Orleans. she started to see that he was really serious. I know you know, and I'm telling you, that's what I'm doing.
But according to her friend Brittany, Sierra couldn't accept that.
The jealousy got to her so much where she just had enough. And so she decided that this is the only way out, to take him out.
I guess it came to a point like, if she can't have him, nobody can.
Next, Brittany says Sierra retrieved a gun from the closet and crept quietly back into the bedroom while Stephen was sleeping.
There was no argument, no fear for her own safety, nothing like that. Stephen was peacefully sleeping.
She shot him in the head.
Brittany said she was already shocked by the information Sierra told her. But what Sierra said next disgusted her to her core.
Sierra realizes she's too weak to carry the body.
So she reasons that there's only one way that she can get rid of the body, and that is to get a machete.
She told me she just chopped him up.
She chops off the head, cuts off the arms. She cuts off the legs.
Sierra told Brittany it took her all night to dismember Stephen.
When this went on, Sierra's own child is in the next room.
Early the next morning, she went to the store and bought supplies.
She bought duct tape, rope, and garbage bags to wrap up the body.
Thank you.
Then she quietly disposed of the evidence.
She decided to wrap each piece up, put it in the car, and drive around Baytown to different dumpsters.
They get picked up, they get brought to the landfill, and ultimately that is where the torso's found.
After cleaning up the apartment and disposing of the body, Sierra takes one final step.
How may we help you?
She did go to the police and report Stephen missing, which obviously was a tactic to try to throw people off for what she had done.
But now the detectives know everything.
Why Sierra would tell her friends this, maybe it was something that did get on her conscience somewhat, but she just had to tell somebody.
She really thought that they was going to help, but she really scared them.
Thank you.
Brittany's able to share other people who may possibly know about what took place. And so all these people were contacted, and all of them readily came forward.
Coupled with the evidence detectives already have, it's more than enough for an arrest warrant.
Then, with the help of local police, detectives took Sierra into custody at a relative's house in suburban New Orleans.
When detectives bring Sierra back to Texas and get her into an interrogation room, she refuses to admit that she's done anything wrong.
I told you already what I said. No, you're not going to be honest with us and you're going to stay with that lame story. That's fine. That's up to you. You're still charged. And you don't have anything else to say to you guys.
Sierra at one point even claimed that it was strange men who came into the apartment and killed Stephen, and that they had threatened to hurt her too if she snitched.
2 people came into the house. They were disguised, and they told me to go into the bathroom and shut the door. And I heard a gunshot, and they told me to leave and to make up something, basically to say that they weren't there. And basically, I did what I was told because I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I was in fear for my life.
But no matter what Sierra says, the evidence against her is more than enough to charge her with Stephen's murder.
Not only did detectives have statements from Brittany, but they had the evidence of luminol all over the apartment.
Soon after Sierra's interrogation, DNA testing erases any hope that Stephen might still be alive.
The torso, without any doubt, belongs to Stephen.
However, the remainder of Stephen's body was never found.
We don't know what happened to the rest of Stephen. And as a family member or a friend of this guy, that's got to be a stake in the heart.
In February of 2019, after prosecutors have built an airtight case against her, Sierra pleads guilty to murder. But at her sentencing, she shows an appalling lack of remorse.
She did not care. She was like, yeah, I did it. And so what?
She's in the courtroom, no remorse. She's unfazed. What is wrong with this woman?
She got sentenced to 45 years.
The sentence is a bitter disappointment for Stephen's friends and family.
I felt like she could have got more time. She really should have got death.
That's how I felt at that time. But I've grown to understand the power of forgiveness. I have no place to want revenge.
So instead of vengeance, Stephen's friends focus on remembering the man Sierra took from them.
The way I'm living and the way I'm looking at life, it's because of him. He made me believe more in myself and understand that, I can be more than what I thought I was.
He was just really, really a good guy. And I was happy and blessed to have him in my life.